Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome to another Live at 5 with Tom and Will. How are you, Will?
I am all right. I'm actually pretty good. It's been, a fun week. Got to, do some fun things and be at home a little bit more. And
oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, me too. Have you cooked anything good this week? Should we start off with a beer?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're on the Harveys, which I was down at Harveys. Oh, must have been. I would say a couple the other day, but it wasn't the other day. It was like.
Have a bottle opener.
Do you have a bottle opener? Oh. Luckily, it wasn't very. There we go. There we go. Anyway,
it works.
It works. So I was down at Harvey's. Oh, it must have been over the summer. I love a bit of Harvey's Best. Stopped in the brewery shop, and this is one of the
India Pale Ales,
stronger, maltier ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So Amarillo hops. Born and bred. Pretty easy going, hopefully.
Oh
God.
Oh, it's malty on the nose. It's good.
Oh yeah, it's got a nice little bit of sting to it.
Yeah, it's good for the old winter.
It's the best for winter. Those sort of in the summer, those lighter IPAs, those lighter pales go all right, but during the winter, I want something with a bit of body and a bit of thickness.
Yeah, exactly. Just something to give you a little bit of a zip in the evening. It's definitely getting dark here as well, isn't it?
It's getting dark way too early.
Way too early. Cheers, mate. And that it's drinking well.
It's got a nice caramel tone to it. I don't know when it was packaged. The hop character's probably, and the bitterness is a little lower. Strong old style IPA.
Yeah, it's definitely malt forward, isn't it?
Malt forward. 6.5%.
Yeah, sneaks up in there. Guys, as always, if you've got any questions, then drop them in the comments section below and we'll aim to answer them. Today we're going to be talking about the history of mead, a potted history of mead, which I've dipped in for.
Yeah.
We've got a tight 10 minutes on it, so we'll see how long we can string this out for. No, we always pick up these odds and sods facts about mead, so we're going to share some of that today, is the idea.
Yeah, so last week it was me cooking and doing all the legwork.
So now it's
nice
me.
To sit back and drink this week.
Yeah, done well. I'll try and do my best.
Yeah, so been cooking. What do I cook this week? I cooked some salmon this week. I had some really nice stream caught salmon.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? Wild caught salmon. So I did it with, I soaked it over a day with some lemon zest and garlic and a bit of olive oil. Amazing. Yeah. So over some pasta.
We do a lot of salmon from the freezer, straight from the freezer.
Well, this is what I've got, but you buy it and it comes in like my dad used to do, these Ziploc bags, and it's great. It stays in the freezer, open up, it actually smells like fresh fish instead of, nothing.
Yeah. What have I done? I did a spatchcock's piri piri a la Nando's chicken last night, which is good.
Okay. So what's a piri piri?
Piri piri is the sauce.
Peri peri, yeah, sorry, it's...
It depends.
I just didn't understand, Tom. I'm not having a go at your ability to speak your native tongue. I'm just...
maybe it is peri peri. I think it is peri peri now I think about it.
Piri piri sounds great. It's the start of a conversation, right?
It does, and that's what this is all about, guys. We're just about enabling conversations, connections.
Oh God!
Right, let's
Yeah, we need a drink before we get into the history. We've got a couple of other little things to go along with the history chat today. So Harvey's Best, of course.
Harvey's Best. Old school beer.
Old school brewery.
Yeah.
Been around for God knows how long.
Ooh, I think about 300 years. It'll say on the back of the label. I'll just have a look. Carry on.
And then. Sorry, I got distracted. I really want to know now.
I don't know. Cool. Anyway, sorry. There you go.
Old brewery, definitely old, not
definitely
new.
Old.
And then we've got a metheglin that we made for the BBC.
Yeah, last year.
So that's
this time
cool.
last year, which is...
Yeah, this time last year.
Exactly, this time last year, yeah.
And then we also dove into our own archives and grabbed some history of Gosnells. So
the history of Gosnells.
We have some 2014.
Oh, so this is brewed by me.
This would be a great testament to your abuse of my stylings.
Yeah, so this was brewed by me in the old space.
Is it still here in Peckham as well?
Yeah, it's just across the way in a tiny little room in a 200 litre kit. And I did it all. And actually, 2014. Yeah, it must have been. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So it's lot 117.
So we started on lot 100, just to get benefit. Just to make it look
For
like...
For any amateur mead brewers out there, just start at 100.
Because otherwise people think...
Number one, who wants that? That's going to be terrible.
Exactly. So it started at 100. So the 17th batch. Wow.
Do you have any of the hundreds brewed? The first ever?
No, I don't think that was good gear.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. What else has been happening in the brewery this week? Well, we took the vintage off, bottled the vintage. I've just finished that, so.
It's all right. You're going to lick it up for your long chatter. I can drink the rest by myself. I'm okay with that.
That's probably fair enough.
This week in the brewery, we bottled and labelled bottled and pasteurised the vintage. We have brewed the mould.
Yes.
Which is cool. So that'll be hopefully coming out next week as well.
Yeah, the spiced mead, that is.
Yeah, the spiced mead, our little single serve in the can, put in the microwave mead.
Yeah, not the can. Don't put the can in the microwave.
Don't put the can in the microwave. Definitely going to get some emails about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From me.
Yeah. Every can sold comes with a personalised email.
It does say on the back of the can, don't put it in the microwave, just for the avoidance of doubt.
And then we brewed the second iteration of the small batch program.
Cool. So that's going to be the one that comes out in December, before Christmas. Yeah.
So that's the barrel fermented, 10% slow and juniper.
SLOE.
Yeah.
Not slow fermented.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair point. It's a good distinction. I like that. Cool. I'll start doing that whenever you give your dates. I'll just make sure that they're all factually correct.
Please do. I get a bit confused between 1400s and 14th century, so do cut me some slack.
Cool. So guys, anything that he gets wrong, can we please just call and
leave a message, ask for James.
And you'll get the best response.
You'll get the best response. So, mead, oldest fermented beverage in the world. That's the claim we're making. Prove us wrong. So why is mead the oldest fermented mead? Why?
You're reading my part of the script.
Oh right, sorry. So
why is it the oldest, Tom?
You're going to make this very difficult. I was just about to swear profusely. So if you take honey off the hive, particularly early in the season, it's quite watery, or it can be quite watery. Mm-hmm. Or if you take honey off the hive and it gets mixed with water, it reduces or it dilutes it, and it'll just start naturally fermenting with the wild yeast in the air. So the interesting thing about honey is that it's not actually antiseptic as a chemical. It's the It is the viscosity that stops the bacteria reproducing.
So it's antimicrobial, it's not antibacterial.
Yeah, so it's not actually killing any of the bacteria or yeast in there. It's just inhibiting the growth of it because of the viscosity. The hydrostatic pressure, that's the word I was looking for.
Nice.
Just stops the bacteria moving around. So basically it's too thick for anything to grow in. And so if you dilute it down with water, it will just start fermenting because yeast has honey has bacteria and yeast in, right?
Yeah, so it has multiple forms of lactobacillus. It's got one of the flab, which is a fructose-based lactic acid bacteria. Also because when you're trying to find wild yeast, the old saying is follow the bees, and because they move around, they form that part of that chain as well of moving the yeast from place to place as well. So if you follow the bees, usually you'll find different strains of Saccharomyces.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So the oldest archaeological evidence that I found, not personally, in my extensive mead research, I must have read so many books about mead.
Tell me about it.
But it goes back to China about 10,000 BC. So what they found is these old clay pots with vestiges of fermentation in with honey, also grains, also fruits in. So you can kind of make any claim you want about that. But definitely honey is present in there, and they know that from the pollen. So all the pollen in there. And as we said, if you put honey with water, it's going to ferment, right? And it's going to turn into alcohol. That's it.
That's how it works.
And then moving forward through time, there's loads of tradition. So it actually crops up when I was talking to the moonshine meadery guys in India.
Yeah, those guys make some.
They make some really banging stuff. But they were talking about how mead has a tradition in ancient Hindu Ayurvedic culture. So there's lots been written way back in time, and obviously that civilization goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And so mead's actually indigenous to that Indus River Valley region.
Yeah. Indus River
Cool.
Valley.
I'm using some words that I haven't really thought about in a while.
Yeah.
But so it kind of crops up there. And I think that's the cool thing about mead is that it does crop up almost everywhere in the world because there's honey everywhere, apart from North America, where it was introduced. The honeybee was introduced by colonists. So there was no, or at least the typical honeybee wasn't present there. So I think there were other.
Yeah, because in South America there's some, right?
Yeah.
And there's some even. I remember I was lucky enough to get a taste of the stingless bee honey, which is hugely acidic, which is kind of cool. I don't think you could make really anything with it, but it was definitely one of those, you're a mead maker, I've got some really cool honey you have to try. And I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it's, made by stingless honeybee.
So basically wherever you get honey, you've got mead, and it kind of crops up all over the world. And then you were telling me about this today, isn't there like the oldest written recipe for beer comes from Egypt?
This is what I've read. So there's the oldest written down recipe for making alcohol was found in Egypt, written in hieroglyphs, which was the production of grain alcohol and the production of honey alcohol.
Interesting.
Which is pretty cool. When you think about the process of grain alcohol, is actually quite intense process, and there's some markers you need to hit. Like you can brew with all grain, but you still have to be able to heat that up and convert that sugar. Otherwise,
there's a process.
There's a process that needs to go through, and that's why it was the first sort of written down evidence.
And also, I think it's a really good source of calories back in the day. There is a lot of calories in beer just to sustain you.
It also keeps you grain, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually turn it into something that's going to last a little bit longer. But then we'll get into that a little bit later about how that sort of developed and how that sort of keeping of beer became.
Don't steal my lines
today. I know. I'm trying not to.
From the sheet, aren't you? And then, so moving forward a bit through time, you end up in sort of Greco-Roman sort of culture, and that's where honey started to be used. Generally post-fermentation to mix with wine to sweeten it up, often with spices to kind of round off potentially some of those edges. I've got no idea about what the quality of Roman wine would be like. Chances are it could be pretty decent.
Yeah, you know what? It was done in clay pots, done in ground. Some of those
was it Cavera?
And some of those traditions are being reused now, and some of those have kept on in time. So there's obviously a reason why it went to that length to improve it, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But anyway, so there was a bit of evidence around the domestication of bees happened in sort of Greece and Rome around that kind of period when you were trying to get lots of honey to use in food and production of wine.
You got to think like sugar is such a hard thing to come across during those times as well. So any form of sugar is quite highly regarded.
Yeah, so then moving forwards a bit through time and a bit closer to home, you look at sort of Northern Europe. Obviously, we don't have a lot of grape production, or we have a bit of soft fruits in the right season. But honey is a really important source for fermentation because it's such an active, also easily accessible sugar ingredient, and so it crops up all over kind of Anglo-Saxon culture. Things like Beowulf. Beowulf's the classic example. That's all set in a mead hall with a monster outside the mead hall, and they're all drinking mead throughout the whole poem. So it's a really indigenous kind of Anglo-Saxon product, and then particularly in the UK, continues to be important culture up until about 1066 when the Norman invasion happened. You loved me talking about 1066.
I do love it. It's one of those dates I'll never forget.
Well, if you're English, it's the only thing you ever learn about in history is 1066. Anyway, the Normans come over and they were French. Interestingly, originally, so they come from France, Normandy. Interestingly, they were originally Vikings. Moved to Normandy, then ended up in here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that makes sense.
So they brought their own kind of booze culture, which was much more perry cider, fruit wines. So that then obviously you've got a new power structure in place, new fashions come with that, and so mead gets pushed out of this, certainly pushed out the urban centres or the power structure into the countryside a bit more.
Yeah, does that have anything to do with the cost of honey, or how hard it is to produce as well?
I think it might do it, but I think it was much more of a fashion thing as well, in terms of we're bringing our food and drink culture here. We're imposing that. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, if you want to be part of this society, you're going to be like us. Sort of thing.
Exactly. I think that's where it comes from. And I think moving, and at the same time, you get beer brewing is developing, and I think it's about the 13th century is when they start using hops in beer widely. So before then, beer was made with just grain.
Yeah, what was it called? It was called
Groot. Yeah, it was a Groot. So with flavoured with herbs and spices, but not hops.
Yeah.
And actually, hops have a preservative effect. So you take the life of a beer from maybe 3 to 5 days to more like 5 to 7 days, using the kind of antibacterial properties of those hops, and that just means you get a bit more life out of it. It makes it a bit more economically viable, and you can get it to more people.
Yeah, it means you can transport it, and you can actually run a hub instead of the classic sort of brewing it in a very small area
exactly.
Like the microbrewery industry now.
Exactly. So that brings us on to a recipe which we made for the BBC last year. So I was wheeled out for a bit of a Lucy Worsley Christmas action last year, and we were talking about booze. It was called A Very Tudor Christmas, and we were talking all about Tudor drinks in our episode. And so Jager Wise from Wildcard brewed a Groot, and we brewed this metheglin. So do you want to tell us a little bit about this metheglin?
Yeah,
so metheglin is a spiced mead. That's broadly
and we kind of make a lot of these ourselves. That's like our hibiscus would be classified as a metheglin, I assume that hopped would be as well, being a metheglin as well. Metheglin, I always jump between the two, so correct me if I'm wrong. So this was brewed full time for this Tudor Christmas. It came from a recipe book that has like the greatest name.
Can you read it out for us?
I'm going to read it. It's called The Closet of the Eminently Learned Sir Digby.
Give that a second, Will. The Closet of the Eminently Learned Sir Kenelm Digby, KC.
And then it goes on.
So this is the front page. We will stick this up on the gram, but it's the most amazing book.
It's just got some incredible stuff in it. So we took the recipe from. There's quite a few different mead recipes, and I went through and I chose number one that we could recreate based on
the ingredients we can get.
Ingredients we can get. And I spoke to the guys at BBC about transferring some of the names in the book as well, because I had no idea about what certain things were. W2, I think it was on page 32. If you've got it at home and
so
you
if
just
you
want to
Google
flick to it,
it will come up.
Yeah, you can get a free
Project Gutenberg, I think.
Yeah,
it's a free.
And you get a free.
Obviously out of copyright now.
Yeah, just. And then so it called for about 10 different herbs in the boil, which was crazy, and it was called for an hour boil.
Wow.
Which is, you got to caramelize the honey. It's definitely not what we do now. But what that did is just add a ton of nitrogen in there, right? And that just helps.
Breaking down the spices to get that nitrogen?
Yeah, because it's mainly so it's a lot of like woody spices. There's also a lot of leafy herbs as well. So things like strawberry leaves and I think it was red sage and lemon balm and all these sort of things will start breaking down and giving the yeast some a bit of nitrogen to chew on, which will produce a better mead. The cool thing about it too was how they tested gravity. Because
this was cool. Yeah,
you're talking about a recipe book, so you've got to have a way to sort of universally get across a style and how to do it. So to take a gravity reading, it was.
So today we take gravity reading is the density of the liquid that we would use to say how much sugar is in there at the start and how much sugar is at the end, and so what the ABV is. Use it for various different things in brewing, but that's generally it.
So it suggested that you would make your must. And then you would grab an egg, and if you could put the egg in and the egg would float at the top, there was enough honey in there to make a decent mead.
So it's thick enough to support it.
And I think I worked out the gravity is about 1060 or 1065.
Okay, so pretty, so something we're familiar
about
with.
About 8, 9, 10%. It's 7-8%.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So you dump all these herbs in, you boil it for an hour, and you're stripping out all the aromatics out of these herbs and out of these spices, and you're really drawing from the wood spices. And then it's fermented in a barrel with wild yeast.
Yeah.
There's two mentions in the book, and they don't necessarily mention it per recipe, but one is that you can go to your local baker and pick up some baker's yeast.
Yeah.
Or if you let it go, you can naturally ferment it. So we end up going just with a simple, because all baker's yeast is now brewer's yeast is selected, right? That's kind of selected for their alcohol production over their CO2 production. But we ended up going just for a very basic lager yeast, and then fermented it out. And then at the end, after fermentation, there was a big dump of cloves and might have just been cloves actually in the final part.
Yeah, I think it was. There was a lot of clove.
A lot of clove in the front, and that's kind of when we sat down and we talked about like how would we change this up and do it a little bit different. It's like just cut
out the
clove. The boil in 1/10 and just do a 10-minute boil if you're going to have to do a boil, and just like put 1/20th of the cloves in at the end, because number one, you're boiling off all those nice aromatics, and then you're chucking your cloves, and you kind of just got yourself a nice little clove mead.
So anyway, should we have a taste of this?
We should.
We'll see it on the nose. It's cloves.
It's 100% clove. But there's a little bit.
There's a bit
cinnamon come through.
Yeah.
That nutmeggy cinnamon. There's a little bit of this herbal tincture sortness to it as well.
Yeah, well, that's not bad.
I
think we were surprised it wasn't. It's
drinkable, right? When we made it, we're like, this is going to be weird, rubbish. And we had it, and then as it's aged, it's just got better and better over time.
Yeah. So this must be about a year old now. Mm-hmm. So it's dry. I would say it's reasonably thin. It's got a bit of mouthfeel towards the end. Not overly spiced, I wouldn't say.
No, and that's the surprise me. On the nose, you feel like you're just going to be hitting the mouth with this. There's a lot of tannin there, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just getting it at the end. It dries right out, and it just gets super tannicky. Super tannic.
Yes, super tannic.
Yeah,
that's a band name, isn't it? Super tannic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but yeah, it was fun to make. Yeah, there's a few other recipes now I still want to go through and doing. There's some baking recipes in there too. That's actually
some cool old baking recipes.
Some really weird stuff, and I really quite like the process. Yeah, they're talking about how hot to have your oven. So there's obviously no thermometer, so it's kind of this weird description of how much wood to put in, how big your oven is.
Yeah,
and, it's kind of cool to see how people worked around these sort of procedures.
Yeah, because I guess without that scientific, i.e., having things to be able to measure and having.
And how do you communicate it? Because some people might have a rudimentary way of doing this, but not everybody would have the means to do it. So when you're writing a book like this that is going to be spread quite quite vast, you kind of want everybody to be able to do it with the limitations of what they have at home.
So this was published in 1669 by his son. So these were all in the 1500s. These recipes, and he was a big food and drink producer. I think he was just a massive aficionado. So check that out. It's definitely worth a read if you're a bit of a geek. That's pretty cool. That may be really good to bake or glaze a ham with. Yeah, it probably would. There's not much sweetness left in it.
No,
so, so it's gone dry. So I think if I was glazing a ham, I'd want something a little bit sweeter, just to...
Yeah, and I think that's because we use such a
aggressive yeast.
Yeast with it. A baker's yeast just won't go down.
Just won't go that far. Yeah, so that's probably right. So because we're using commercial 21st century yeast, even
killing it already.
We get lots of extraction of the sugar into alcohol. So if it was less efficient, you'd probably get some of those sugars left in it. So that's the last time that mead was really made any volume was probably the 1500s, 1600s, and then there's a bit of evidence around that time that the honey price spikes. So a little bit of theory is that, like in the 20th century, we've had the varroa mite problem with bees being attacked. The same thing may have happened back in the day, or there was some sort of problem in England in order to kind of.
Trying to think of if there was any environmental things going on in the 15th century.
Was it that little ice age at that time?
Could have been.
Could have been. I know the Thames froze over. I think there was a big ice fair in the 1600s. Have you seen the pictures of that?
No.
That's amazing. Like the paintings of setting up fairs in Thames. I'll have to look that up. My history is a bit, we're telling a story, not writing a textbook. And then, so mead continues in decline until really the late 20th century. So about the late 80s was when mead started getting going in the States again. So that's kind of where lots of the inspiration for just the genesis of mead kind of comes from.
I remember talking to, I can't remember her name, from Got Mead.
Vicky Rowe.
Yeah, Vicky Rowe, that's it. And she started that before the internet. She was telling a story about going to, her father had an access to a database at the library, and she was going there and pulling all this stuff out of there and spreading the word of mead.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty mad. So that brings us up. So I found Gosnells in late 2013 was when we got going, and we are going to taste the 17th batch of mead I made. I'm pretty excited about this because I'm a really skilled brewer. So it's.
I assume this is going to be the best mead I've ever had in my life.
Well, I mean,
I can only be disappointed from here.
You can only be disappointed from here. I mean, let's not ruin the flavour with the spices.
Oh yeah, no, go on. No.
There's still some carbonation.
We'll see when we pour it out.
So this is made in a slightly different method to what we do today, in that it was fermented about 2/3 of the way through, like we do today, and it was pasteurised in bottle rather than pasteurised in a flash pasteurizer.
Yeah, which we do sometimes. Like if we want to do some natural carbonation and we want to, go down that method, we still use it. Yeah. Like we do it with the vintage, let's say.
That's true. Yeah.
But we don't do it with the traditional anymore. Well, to the brewer. That's carbonation,
it's
mate.
Carbonation there, guys. Box fresh. So what is this? 6 years old. I mean, the head does die quite quickly, but...
Yeah, look, we don't have the best, like mead in general, not just us. Mead in general doesn't have the best head retention, right? We don't have the protein structure to hold the head.
It's quite bready on the nose, and so obviously because it's been in bottle, like naturally carbonated, it will be
sat on the lees.
Sitting on the lees. I'm just trying to see. Oh, there are quite a few lees on there. So those lees will autolysize over the course of
you know what?
half a decade, guys.
It's pretty clean, Tom.
It is pretty clean, considering the methods that I was using, i.e. very little temperature control. I had to use the air conditioning in the room to control the temperature, and it was a small batch as well, so 200 litres to go.
There is no off flavours in that. Look at alcohol though on the nose, which is a little different.
Oh, it's sweet, isn't it? That is much sweeter than what we brewed today.
Yeah, but the carbonation is gone.
Yeah, the combination is gone. It would have leaked through the cap, to be fair.
a little bit of that and a little bit that...
there was no carbonation to begin with?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I'm not going to... We'll go back through the...
Go back through the brew logs.
Yeah, let's see what we got.
See what I wrote down.
But the honey on the nose is awesome. And I've had a couple of our old bottles, and with the early pasteurisation, sometimes learning that process and how much to pasteurize, you can get a little bit of a caramel note.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised there's no caramel note.
No, this is
every
actually,
old bottle I've tasted had a little bit of this, just an undertone of caramel.
Well, this is kind of the recipe that I first came up with and was like, actually, you know what, this is bloody good. Like, there's something in this. It needs obviously some refinement and some working towards, but, you know, there's the genesis of an idea there, and you can see how we've built on that as a building block.
It's a little less fruity as well. So I'm just going to pick this apart.
Well, no, it's fine. I think some of that has died down. Some of that.
Yeah, you've lost a bit. What's surprising is the honey character is still as strong, if not stronger, than what we do now.
Yeah. I'm we threw away a lot of these old bottles, and I'm disappointed now because
and I want to keep, just doing. I want to keep some just to sort of have a bit of a look through what other people have done, and
a bit of a reference as well.
And also, like, what happens with it. Like, I didn't start out in my career in making mead at 15, and then have tasted it. So being able to grab some old things of the exact, almost the exact recipe we're doing now, and just sort of see how it changes over time. Like, let's say the Citra for one, which is one of those recipes where I went, oh, okay, we can dial the salt back a little bit, because as it actually gets older, the salt becomes a lot more prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is not that different to the London in 75 that we make today.
If that was solidly carved.
Yeah, and actually, it's quite a grown-up drink. Do you know, like?
It's like you say, sweeter as well. It's not crazy sweet.
No, we should save some of that for the others, but I'm actually quite pleased with that. I've always been nervous when we open something old, but no, that's worked really well.
And you got to remember, this is in a beer bottle.
Yeah,
you are going to get some oxygen. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Being carbonated in bottle helps.
Also, did you like our branding? I mean, like, look how...
I love it. Yeah, I've seen it because I've got one of those bags, I think.
Yeah.
The best thing is I've seen these because we used to have that label on the boxes as well. And I've seen some of those boxes and old bags getting around Peckham.
Oh, there's a box in Tooting Market that someone sent me full of shirts that had a Gosnells, and you're like, oh, right, that's weird, because they're still using the same cardboard box from like 4 years ago. Fair play.
Yeah, that's it. That's true recycling.
Yeah, true recycling.
Getting the best out of it.
All right, guys. Well, if you've got any other questions, let us know. Otherwise, we'll probably draw that reasonably to a close then. It's been a bit of a quick one this week, but unless there's anything else we need to talk about,
What else can we talk about? What do we got going on next week? So I'm actually quite enjoying having this drink, so I'm just going to sit here for the next 5 minutes and
I mean, that's absolutely fine. What else we got? We've got loads of tastings. So we've got to do loads of group tastings. Guys, if you want a group tasting, get involved.
Yeah, get in now.
It's Christmas time, so we are getting booked up. I think I did 6 this week, and I think I'm doing 12 next week. So it is a good busy week next week.
It's a lot of liver damage.
I actually don't drink the whole can because otherwise,
little secret, guys.
Yeah, little secret.
Keep that under your hat.
Secret. No, last night I did. I drank 4 cans in about an hour, and I stopped, and I was just too much.
It gets you, doesn't it? Like,
it does sneak up on
as
you.
much as people think that we drink non-stop. Well, we probably drink an average amount.
I think we do. We don't really drink at work. It's lots of heavy machinery here, so...
Yeah, and like when you're drinking, you're drinking for a different purpose, right?
It's true. What is the oldest mead that you've ever tasted? What ABV? Oh, do you have some of that rabbit's foot stuff when I bought? Were you there for that?
Yeah, I did.
Mike Fall from Rabbit's Foot, which was 20 years old, I want to say. I'll look it up, but it was about 20 years old in the bottle, and it was really delicious, actually. It was really smooth. It was strong and sweet. It was a different style. It was much more
and I was
dessert.
going to say, I had...
Mead of Poetry, I think it was called.
My girlfriend's dad and her uncle have made mead in Poland for, pretty much their whole life. It's one of those sort of areas that mead has always sort of stayed in, if not just in the farmhouse, in sort of tradition in one way or another. And I got a little taste of one of them that was about 10 years old. But the coolest thing about it was he was telling the story about making it, and he only had 2 or 3 bottles left. And he goes, it was the worst mead I ever had. The worst mead I ever made. We just put the bottle in the back of the cupboard. And then about 10 years later, pulled it back out to have a taste. And then it was probably one of the most incredible meads. And just like that time of just sitting there and going, it's the same thing.
Just relax, yeah.
It was because in Poland there's 3 different types of mead. 3 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1.
Water to honey ratio.
It's called Mead, but it's 1, 2, and 3. So one of Mead there's some other name for it because the names changes. My missus will love that I can't even remember the little tidbits. But yeah, that was the same. It was just an incredible mead. It was super viscous and super sweet, but yeah, just knock your socks off and tasted delicious.
Yeah. So we've got a question about the mulled mead. So mulled mead's going to be in cans. It's going to be 4%. We did the spice blend today, which is classic winter mulling spices.
Yeah, so it's juniper, orange peel, star anise, cinnamon, nutmeg, a little bit of lemon peel. Bit of cardamom. Yeah. Just a little bit of depth, and with the 4% as well, I think that's just a really nice sipping ABV, and we quite like that.
It's going to come in a can. I think our idea of this is we're going to sell it obviously direct through our website. It's going to be £5 to get a can delivered anywhere in the UK. So if someone's having a good day, a bad day, you can just send them a can of mead in the post, and they can have a hug and a mug. Trademarked by somebody else.
Oh, really? That's great. Where'd you come up with that?
It's cup of soup.
It's cup of soup.
And they are quite litigious, so sorry about that. I did explore putting it on the label, but the IP lawyer I consulted was like, don't.
Not even worth it.
Not even worth it. So the idea is that you can cheer someone up, and we will write a handwritten note saying whatever you want. I mean, yeah.
The other thing is, 4%'s not enough. A shot of whiskey never hurt anybody. Straight over the top.
Shot of whiskey. Yeah, I'd probably go whiskey rather than rum.
Yeah. I think with that there, like whiskey's got a little, like bourbon probably more than let's say Scotch. Something that's quite, unless you like a Scotch. If you like tons of smoke and tons of peat.
Bit of Lagavulin. Just get
into it.
Yeah. Or what else would I put in there? White spirit wise, might go do a gin in there. That might be a bit weird.
It's got juniper in the base.
That's what I was just thinking, just to play off that and some of the lemon peel. Interesting.
Yeah, the other thing is I'll probably put a tipple of schnapps in there as well.
Schnapps, yeah.
Something a nice 50%.
Yeah.
My dad just finished doing the run in the distillery in Slovenia. So he's got...
Is he out of breath, or?
Yeah, he's 70 now, so... But I think he got about 38 litres of 50% schnapps.
Ooh, is he backing it off, or is that they're staying out?
That's backing it off to to 50.5.
Sorry, so bug in a mug, bees after all. Yes, we could be bug in a mug. Bugs don't have the best connotation. They do.
Yeah, do we? Yeah, bug in the mug is do I put down the sink? I think.
Yeah. Anyway, not a hug in a mug.
Snug as a bug in a rug.
Ooh, snug as a bug in a rug. Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Because that's I think is that you? Do you know that saying?
Yeah, I do know that saying. Yeah. That's what I say.
Yeah, guys, have you got any other
mulled mead slogan suggestions?
Give
us a call. Leave a message for James.
He's going to have an hour on Monday of going through these.
James, this message is for you.
Yeah. What else?
What else are we doing next week? It feels like we've got a lot of things on. But
so we're going to be sending out the first iteration of the small batch program next week.
Yeah, so the bragget's going out next week, which is good, yeah?
Yeah, so it's tasting amazing. Really quite happy with that. Yeah. And that's kind of next week,
and
I
then
think.
just getting in full swing for Christmas, I guess, yeah. Dealing with all the web orders, we're in delis, so that's building up, which is good to see.
Yeah, so thank you to you guys out there for doing that and allowing us to be who we are.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks a lot for your time, and we will speak to you again next week.
Yeah, take care and enjoy.
Thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. So hit the subscribe and like button and follow us on all our social media, and we'll see you again next week. If you've got any questions or thoughts or just want to chat about mead and honey, then drop us an email to podcast@gosnells.co.uk.